Hi everyone, welcome to Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself Sonali Modi from Community Outreach Team of ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. We guide cancer patients on adopting an integrative oncology treatment approach. We help them find the balance between medical treatment and complementary treatment approaches. And we help our patients with our team of oncologists, lab experts, nutritionists, and other healthcare professionals so that we can improve the treatment outcome for patients. We also help in connecting patients with other cancer warriors who have gone through this journey to address their queries. And we also share inspirational journeys to motivate cancer warriors. And we are happy today to have Ms. Jennifer Jones on this session with us. So, Ms. Jennifer, please start with the introduction.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Jones. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I am a breast cancer thriver, not just a survivor, a thriver, and I will be, I'm approaching my 1-year anniversary in January.
Okay. So what made you go for the diagnosis?
I felt a lump in my left breast, and I probably, like many people, maybe ignored it at first, thinking it was just something else. And finally, I went to my doctor and he examined it and he told me it was a cyst, but suggested we get a mammogram anyway. And I had been getting regular mammograms. So, and my last mammogram was fine. So I felt fairly confident that it was nothing, but nonetheless, I went and had the diagnostic test done and it came back as breast cancer.
Okay. So, like, how your family took this news when and how this news was disclosed to you?
Well, it wasn't during the mammogram, then they did an ultrasound, and the radiologist who did the ultrasound said it doesn't look good. But at the time they hadn't done the biopsy. So personally, I'm not sure that she probably should have delivered it then, but she said, I'm pretty sure it's cancer. But we need to wait for the biopsy results, which was the longest, 4 or 5 days of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I went back, they had the results and told me that it was cancer. They actually called me while I was at work and told me it was cancer. So I think my first response was shock, because you don't feel bad. I didn't feel sick. I was exercising, working. I didn't feel sick. And it takes a lot to process. It takes a lot to, your brain kind of goes into
Into a
for
different
me,
state
it
of
was,
mind.
yeah, it was almost paralyzed, like it was a bad dream or some sort of alternate reality. So I listened to the news on the phone. I hung up. I had work to do. I had meetings to go to. So I just sort of compartmentalized that. And so it took me a bit to process. And at the time they didn't know the subtype or anything. I didn't even know what subtypes were. So I didn't know if it was, I knew nothing. So those first couple weeks, while they're still trying to figure out your subtype and still trying to figure out your treatment and your waiting, and they're doing tests, probably the worst part for any cancer patient, because you just don't know. You just don't know if they're going to tell you you have a year to live, 6 months to live, or that they caught it early, they didn't cut it early. Like, you just don't know. And the best advice I give people now because I made that mistake, and there's probably thousands of women and cancer patients that make the same mistake, which is to go to the internet and start Googling, and this goes for the world in general. Don't go Googling, don't go trying to figure out if you're going to live or not. Don't look at statistics. Like, it's a terrible rabbit hole. And it's a horror place, because Google will serve you, statistics that may be old or that may be wrong. Like, it's just I finally just literally shut my computer down and didn't go to it for weeks, because it was mentally destroying me.
Yes. So what treatment you underwent?
So I was diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer, which is a very aggressive form of breast cancer. I went through 5 months of chemotherapy. And I had 4 treatments of AC, and I forget the full name for it. And then I had 12 treatments of Taxol and look at me. See, this is Chemo Brain at its best, a platinum drug. And so 5 months in total, and lost my hair. Overall, though, I did okay. I mean, the side effects were bad, but I did okay, and had a great support system. The good news was, I guess if there's good news, my cancer hadn't spread. It was stage 2A. It was a small tumor that was 2.5 centimeters. Nothing in my lymph nodes. So they did chemotherapy first, neoadjunctive treatment. And I'm glad they did. A lot of people want their cancer taken out first, but with my particular type of cancer, and probably a lot of cancers, through chemotherapy first really gave the doctors the information of if it was working or not. And by the time I was, I don't know, probably 3 treatments in, I couldn't even feel the cancer. I couldn't feel the tumor anymore. So that was promising that this was working. And by the time I finished, my cancer was not detectable on an ultrasound. So by the time I went to surgery, they found 2 millimeters, I think it is, of residual cancer, which is not, I was hoping for a complete response, but I came pretty close. As my doctor said, you got an A instead of an A plus, and all my lymph nodes were clear. So, and I had a double mastectomy. So because of my type of cancer, there's no additional treatment needed. I didn't need radiation. And so then it was just about recovering, and reconstructive surgery and so forth. So, and I monitored every 3 months. I go back for checkups.
Yes. So as you said earlier that women should not go, in case of any breast cancer, they should not Google anything, right? So yeah, because we often believe that if we don't have any answer to the questions, we often Google it. And we also know that not Google always doesn't give the 100% result. So what do you think that frequent self-examinations, how is it important?
Well, self-examinations, and I probably was one of those people before this that occasionally did it, didn't think a lot about it, to be honest. And I don't know why. It just, probably because I didn't remember. It wasn't so much that I didn't believe in them. It was just one of those things I didn't remember. I think people need to be aware of, really in tune with your body. And especially breast cancer, breast cancer is a curable cancer. It is a curable cancer. It's a treatable cancer. I should say treatable. Hopefully we'll have cures, but it is a very treatable cancer when caught early. And there are many cancers I've learned that are not. You can't catch them early, or it's hard to have any symptoms. Breast cancer, listen to your body. You know, I felt something. You know, denial is probably the first thing we all go to as just a protective self-preservation thing. But you know, I wish I'd gone to the doctor a little bit sooner. My tumor might have been even smaller. So, you know, knowing your body, knowing self-examination, if you're not feeling right, if something hurts that it doesn't, if your skin changes color, or if it's red or itchy, like just go check it out. You know, you got to be an advocate for yourself. That was one of my other big takeaways here is you got to be an advocate for yourself. I mean, my doctor told me it was a cyst. I could have just said, okay, like no big deal, but I really needed that 100% confirmation of what it was. And I'm glad I did, because it clearly wasn't a cyst. So especially if you have a history of cancer in your family, you just, you gotta advocate yourself. You gotta know your body. Make that effort to do a self-examination monthly. You know, put a reminder. I mean, I will say, if you, and you asked me about Google, I will say, if you feel insistent to go to the internet, you know, go to reliable places, go to the American Cancer Society, go to, you know, Komen, go to a site that has reliable information. But even then, you have to remember every case is different. And your case, even though it may seem like a textbook case, is different, because there's so much about breast cancer I didn't know or understand. But just Googling, you know, something, a general question about breast cancer, you're just asking for mental anguish.
Yes. So, like, can you please share your experience about how the doctors and medical staff were during your treatment time?
Oh, okay. So where I was treated is a fairly comprehensive place. So I first met with a nutritionist. And in no particular order, they offer, you know, do you want to meet with a nutritionist? Do you want to meet with a psychologist? And I wanted to. And so I met with a nutritionist, and we talked through ways to, you know, keep your energy, things you should eat, my exercise, things like that. Thankfully, I had a pretty good eating regimen before I got cancer. I exercised a lot, so she didn't have a lot of feedback for me, other than like, keep doing what you're doing. But definitely gave me some resources to read and become familiar with. I then went and saw a psychologist there who specializes obviously in cancer patients. And that was extremely helpful. And I saw her probably every few weeks. And it, for me, someone that is a bit of an extrovert and talks and so forth, that was very helpful. My doctors were, my oncologist was a real straight shooter, but very warm, very empathetic. the heroes in all this are the men and women who were administering the chemotherapy, who were there for me, who talked to me, who and I don't mean just about medical stuff, but they're warm, engaging. They recognize you, unfortunately, and we're just very very caring individuals. I really didn't have anything bad to say about them at all. It was a very comfortable setting. They put up with my, kind of crazy sense of humor at times. That's how I got through a lot of this, was just, being myself and having a support system. So they, they were great. They were great in kind of a weird way. When I left, I was like, I'm going to miss you guys, but not miss you so much. I'm going to come back and visit. But they were all very, very great.
Yeah. So, yeah, you went through chemotherapy cycles, and we all know that chemotherapy is a very tough process. So, please share your experience and how you coped with it, and what all difficulties you faced during the treatment.
Yeah. Obviously the biggest side effect was hair loss, and that's probably the hardest for me, when I had to shave my head. And I had long hair. And a lot of people said to cut it off, and I just couldn't do it. So when I finally, after my second treatment, right before my second treatment, I had to shave my head. And that was probably a dark day. But once I got over that, and it took a little bit of time and used to that, my side effects were not horrible. I had some bad fatigue for a while. I tried to exercise as much I could, because that was something they really, and you read about, really helps with recovery. And so I tried, go walking, or moving around, or even if I, was really tired, it might just be walking up and down the stairs in my house, or just outside. I did not, my taste buds, probably one of the hardest side effects for me was I had extreme dry mouth, which sounds kind of weird, but there were a lot of things I couldn't eat. My mouth just really, probably a lot of people know they've gone through this. Your mouth, as fast producing cells, really takes a beating. So my mouth, I was having a lot of problems with that. I did not, with Taxol, a lot of people get neuropathy. I did not get neuropathy. I'm praising the Lord for that. I did wear cold mittens and booties on my feet, which I guess helped. I had some, I don't know, I was really blessed to not have terrible, terrible, terrible side effects. I never got sick. But every day you had to manage. I mean, I had to manage, my appetite, things I could eat. And they do tell you during cancer treatments, like, eat what you can. You can't really be on a diet or say you're not going to eat this or that, because sometimes there's certain things you just can't eat. And so you have to eat what you can to keep your energy up, your calories up. So, I did some things that people told you to do, like get your nails painted during Taxol, because it actually was supposed to protect your nails. So, I did things like that. But I had a lot of bone pain, aches and pains. But you know, I was blessed in that it wasn't horrible. I don't recommend chemotherapy. It was horrible, but my side effects, I never had to go to the hospital. I never had anything serious like that. But no, it still sucked. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it wasn't pleasant.
Yeah, so you had some typical side effects which every women have, breast cancer. So how did you overcome your fear of this treatment or side effects?
Well, you sort of figured out how to deal with them. I mean, I think it's scary at first when you start because you don't know how your body's going to respond.
Hmm.
And so I tried to do everything they told me to do, you know, drinking lots of liquids, water and juice or anything you can. Exercise was important. Exercise was important to me before. The first few treatments, I think I was too weak to do much exercising and dizzy. So, you know, I really didn't do a whole lot, maybe a little bit of walking, but once I started getting into Taxol, which was a 12-week treatment, and kind of you sort of have to figure out how your body is going to respond. About halfway through those treatments, I decided I was feeling okay. And I started jogging, which is really funny. People are like, you started, and when I say jogging, I want people to know that I'm not talking, I was going out there running 7-minute miles. I was probably doing a fast walk, maybe even a trot, and in the middle of winter. But it just made me feel good. I had my music, I put on a playlist and I would jog a little bit and then walk and then jog. And it just made me feel a little bit more like myself, that got the endorphins going, and just made me feel good. It made me feel that I could move my body. It made me feel that, you know, cancer wasn't putting me, it was knocking me down, but it wasn't knocking me out. And it felt great. And I don't like cold weather, so I normally wouldn't be outside jogging when it was cold, but the cold felt good. Breathing in the cold air, moving my body, sweating a little, it just made me feel good. And I think that helped. I think that helped my spirits get through. And, you know, by that time, my body was starting to feel a little bit stronger. My hair was starting to grow back a little bit. You know, I still had some mouth issues and so forth, but I was starting to feel a little bit more human. And so that helped me a lot,
Yes. So you surrounded yourself with positivity.
Tried to be positive. I mean, I allowed myself to have moments where you get scared or you're feeling sorry for yourself or you ask yourself, why me? But I tried to, you know, I kept working during most of my treatment. So I tried to keep busy. Like I said, I didn't go on Google. I didn't do anything, what I called self-preservation. So I practice a lot of self-preservation. That includes, you know, Facebook groups and things like that you might join, which are wonderful support places. But you also have people that write some scary stuff that's happening to them. And what I learned is I don't need to take on someone else's stress. And that's another kind of key takeaway. You know, reading through Facebook groups of people or women that have the same type of cancer or they're going through it, you're reading about some scary things of scans or metastatic or things like that are triggering, and suddenly you're scared. But that's someone else's stress. And so I would stop myself. I would literally put my phone down and walk away. You can't take on someone else's stress. you have to practice self-preservation. I didn't talk too much about the specifics of my cancer unless I wanted to, because I didn't want it to define me or trigger something. I really, the word I kept practicing in my head, not practicing, is just self-preservation. I have to do things for myself that make me feel good. And have my moments of where I'm upset and frustrated and angry, but not to linger in them too long. And that's still hard today. I mean, I'm sitting here feeling good, but I still have moments that I get down or I get depressed, and you know, I've got another 2 or 3 years, 3 or 4 years maybe, of, you know, worrying with this black cloud over my shoulder, is this going to come back or not? You know, and pray every day that is not the case. But if I sat and worried about that all the time, then I'm just robbing myself of the present.
Like what will happen in future? Like what will happen? Overthinking.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't control what's going to happen in the future. I can only control right now. And by worrying too much, I'm taking away from time with my family, or just more pleasant thoughts in my head. And you can't, it's easy for me to say those words. It's very hard to practice, but you have to find ways, whether it's through meditation, through exercise, through doing things you enjoy, through going for a walk, through playing with your pets or your kids or your family, or talking to a good friend, or, you know, find the things that make you happy, that give you joy. And don't let cancer rob you of those moments. Don't let cancer do that. Don't give it that power.
Because often we hover over things that are not under our control. So at that time, we can do things which are under our control and which will relax our mind and calm us down. Yes.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So from where did you get your support system along with the family?
Yeah, I had my husband and my kids. The rest of my family don't live where I live, but I also had a lot of great friends. And so when I was first diagnosed, 4 or 5 of my closest friends put together a schedule that they would, someone always came with me to chemotherapy. People were cooking for us and bringing us food, and I had friends that would just, you know, unfortunately it was during COVID. So, but I had friends that we would sit outside and just talk. And we weren't talking about cancer. We were just talking like friends. You know, I made through some of these Facebook groups, I made some close friends who, it's good to have girlfriends that are going through it with you, know exactly the emotions. You know, I
Are a good
think if,
listener. Are a good
yeah,
listener. Yeah.
yeah. So that's what I needed. I read some books that were healthy for the brain. I talked to a psychologist. That was very helpful. So, you know, I had multiple ways that I got support, and uh, it certainly, you know, going through this alone or without a support system is rough, and I can't imagine doing it alone.
So what do people need to expect when they get this cancer type?
They need to expect that, you know, you're going to hear words with triple negative. It's an aggressive cancer. It's a scary cancer, because it can't be treated with hormones. like, many other cancers. But, and I don't want to say the positive things. However, it responds really well to chemotherapy, which is good. If caught early, it's treatable. What my doctor said to me, and I'll hear on that. He said, "Listen, with this cancer, no, it's not the easiest cancer to get. However, this is a cancer that if it's going to come back, it usually comes back within the first few years. And once you hit the 5-year mark, and I know there's exceptions to this, and there's probably people that will have had it come back after 5 years, but 5 years is sort of the magic mark that if it has not come back, the chances of it coming back are the same as the regular population. And he said there are other breast cancers that, to use his words, he said, you're constantly looking over your shoulder for many, many years. Because 5 years is good, but that doesn't mean your chances of it coming back still exist. So with this cancer, 3 years is really good. 5 years is great. The other great thing about, I shouldn't say great about this cancer, but because there's nothing great about any cancer, but there's a lot of research going on triple negative. They just went into a trial with people, actually, before it was being tested on mice for a vaccine for triple negative. So here at the Cleveland Clinic, they are doing a small trial. And so I mean, can you imagine being able to get a vaccine to prevent reoccurrence or to extremely lower the chances of reoccurrence of triple negative? I mean, it's mind-blowing. I would suspect within a couple of years, this vaccine could be available. I'm positive, or trying to stay positive, that it might be a couple of years, it could be longer, but so the research behind this particular type of cancer is very promising, very promising. But you deal with what you're given. So it's, no cancer is great, but you just have to deal with the hand you're dealt, and take as much action as you can to keep yourself healthy, still be aware of your body, and just stay as positive as you can. I mean, that's all I'm trying to do.
Yes. So do you have the fear of reoccurrence? And if yes, then how you cope with it?
I think everyone has the fear of reoccurrence. I think that's the hardest part of survivorship. Yeah, of course I have the fear of reoccurrence. I try not to, get myself too deep stuck thinking about it, because again, as I said, it just kind of steals your time away from living in the present if all I feared was reoccurrence. Every pain, every thing that bothers you, physically, you're thinking, oh gosh, it's back. And I've had those moments. I've definitely had those moments where I'm like, it's got to be back. And you listen to your body. Your doctors will tell you, things to look for, or things that you might be physically feeling that could be signs of reoccurrence, but they could also be just, aches and pains of life. But how to kind of differentiate. My doctors are extremely, if you're concerned, call us, come in, we'll talk about it, we'll examine you, we'll, and every 3 months I go for blood work. It's, yeah, I mean, this cancer has a high reoccurrence rate. my, I simply just go on with my life and am attuned with my body and try not to think about that too much. Hard though.
Hmm. So what was your first reaction when your reports were saying that you're finally cancer free?
Relief, tears, a little bit of shock, only in the sense of everything that you've been through. Like it still almost felt surreal. It was it was an amazing feeling. It was an amazing feeling knowing I didn't have to go back and get chemotherapy, that my body could start healing from everything it's been through. It's and it's scary on some levels because you feel while you're in treatment, you're killing cancer. And then when they say, there's no sign of disease, there's no more cancer, it's a little scary because now, you have to go back to living your life or figure out what to do. So it's a great feeling though. I mean, obviously it's the best feeling you have, but it's emotionally a lot. And emotionally, your body just needs to, for me, I needed to process that this part of the journey was done. So it's a beautiful feeling.
Yes. So how is your life after cancer?
My life after cancer has changed quite a bit. I didn't think it would, but it really did. And I had a big corporate job, and I left. I wasn't loving it. I wasn't loving the stress it was putting on me. It was probably not, the healthiest place for me to be working in terms of just the amount of stress and anxiety that it just put on me at such a big job.
Hmm.
And I had a realization one morning, getting ready for work, that if I were to live for 2 more years, and let's pray that's not the case, but is this what I would want to be doing? And that was sort of my sort of wake up call. And I thought about it for a moment and I thought, no, this is not what I would want to be doing. And so I left the job. And I took some time off. I still had a couple more surgeries, reconstructive surgeries. So I took time off for me. I took time off to spend with my family, to enjoy the warm summer months. And it is probably the first time, not probably, it's the first time in over 20 years that I've basically just had time for me. And it was fantastic. And I decided fairly recently that one of the things that I felt in my community was missing, was a place for women who, like myself, have finished treatment, and your body is pretty beaten up by then. A lot of people gain weight from the steroids. You lose a lot of muscle tone. You just don't know where to go. And so what I'm doing, is I'm in the process of getting my certification to become a fitness trainer. And I want to open a kind of boutique fitness center here for women similar to myself who are coming off, whether it's a cancer or something similar, and just want to get their their physical and emotional self back. And you're creating a community of women who have shared experiences, who can begin to feel whole again. And so I've started my own journey here to create a new place in my community that women can go to really start feeling like themselves again without judgment, with empowering statements and milestones and ways to just get them feeling better. I'm gonna have nutritionists and dietitians and specially trained fitness instructors that are familiar with the type of surgeries and other things that women go through in recovery from cancer. So it's a big, lofty dream, but it's what's at the moment giving me motivation and joy to keep moving forward.
Yes, that would really inspire a lot of women and also give them a hope that being a survivor of fighting cancer is not the end. The journey has just begun.
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said.
So every crisis in life teaches you a certain lesson. So can you please share your life lessons you got from your cancer journey?
My life lessons. No one is guaranteed a long life. And do what makes you happy. I'd say my other life lesson is to live in the present. I was probably, like many people, on your phone a lot, had your head buried in your phone, not always being present. And when you're faced with a diagnosis that could mean you might not have a future, you want to live in the present. I think the other thing it's taught me is just to enjoy simple things. Spending time with your kids, your family, saying I love you, just enjoying being in the moment. The other thing, which is I think my kids enjoy the most, is I've taken this YOLO, you only live once attitude. So I've been doing some things that probably are out of character. For example, we went on vacation. We went on a holiday to Orlando, and I decided I was going to go on all the roller coasters. And I'm not normally someone that would do that, but I'm like, heck, why not? Let's just do it. You only live once. And so my kids were like, all right. So mom was going on I'm like, I don't care. Me a few years ago were like, no, that looks scary. No, I'm like, yeah, let's just do it. So I've kind of just, I jumped off a cliff, swimming, like you're supposed to jump off it. But, I'm just like, let's just do these things. Like, why am I holding myself back? So I now give myself permission to consider things, or not to be so quick to go, no, I don't want to do that. Now I'm like, meh, let's try it. I want to travel more. So it's, why wait, I guess is the question. And I have no plans of dying soon, but why wait, to do things when we can do it now? So in that sense, it's kind of liberating to give yourself permission to just do what you want.
Yeah. So what is that one thing in your bucket list you want to do?
Oh, African safari is probably my biggest bucket list. Always wanted to do that. That's a big bucket list. Travel mostly. I've traveled quite a bit, but I'd like to, there's a lot of places that I really would like to go to. That's probably on my bucket list. Those are probably my big bucket list. I'm contemplating skydiving, but I'm not quite sure about that. I might try that. But oh, I also want to go in a hot air balloon. That's been a bucket list. So my bucket list sometimes keeps growing the more I start thinking about things, but African safari has been at the top of my bucket list for a long time. So hopefully we're planning on doing that in a couple of years. So I'll send you pictures.
Definitely, we will also see. So, what is that one thing you're grateful for?
One thing I'm grateful for,
Yeah.
one thing. I think one of the things I have a bracelet that had a friend gave me that says, I know you can't see it, but it says start each day with a grateful heart. And I was grateful to be in a position of, I am grateful to be in a position that I was surrounded by very smart doctors, lab techs, that I had the resources to get treated. I was grateful that there were advances in medicine that I was benefiting from. I was grateful that not everyone has all those resources available to them, whether it's, financially or insurance issues or a support system. And so I honestly just was grateful that I had these resources available to me, and that I had, amazing doctors, and I was grateful for just advances in medicine that could be treated. 20 years ago, if I had this diagnosis, it may not have been so good. So honestly, what I prayed for a lot were strength and support for all the people that were researching breast cancer, that are in the labs, that are scientists, that are doctors, and that are trying to cure this disease. On a more everyday level, I was grateful I was waking up every morning. I was grateful I still had a job. I was grateful I had a husband that was amazingly supportive, that would do anything. I was grateful I had a support system. I know you asked me for one thing, but as you can tell, it's hard for me to just say one thing. And that's what kept me going, is gratitude, is gratitude.
Yeah.
And
So
that's important to
gratitude,
have.
yeah, gratitude seems the biggest strength to fight this kind of situation. And what is that one thing you want to share with all those who are still fighting this battle?
The one thing, you keep asking me one thing, and I'm not good with just one thing, but I would say,
You can also give a message to the cancer survivors and caregivers.
okay. I say, listen, I got through it. I'm thriving, but I also know in the darkest moments, when you're feeling at your lowest, that's okay. Don't allow yourself to feel. Don't allow yourself to stay there. Your body is so much stronger, and I learned this, so much stronger than you realize. And even though it's getting beaten up and you're feeling like garbage, your body is made to do this. You can do it. Uh, find an outlet when you're feeling dark. Find an outlet. Find I would find some funny shows on TV or talk to a friend or, allow yourself something. Just don't dwell in the darkness. You will get through it. You will get through it. It is not a death sentence. I feel great. I do. I feel great. And it takes time, but trust that your body is strong enough to do this. Trust in your body and love your body. It will get you through this.
Just divert your mind from the fact that you are fighting this battle, and like hold on to things that ultimately makes you happy.
Yes, you say that much better than I did, but yes.
Yeah. So what is that? An act of kindness you will never forget.
Act of kindness that I would never forget. Actually, when my very first treatment, my very first chemotherapy, I was terrified, and I was with one of my closest friends, and there was a nurse who was my chemo nurse, and she was this older woman, and she was full of personality, and she looked at me, and she could see I was terrified, and she looked at me and she looked at me very closely and said, she pointed to herself and said, I went through this 2 years ago. And she looked at me and she said, you are going to get through this. And she brought me some ice chips and some stuff to drink and some snacks. But what she did give me was faith and such warmth. And in fact, as I was terrified, as they start putting the red devil into you, she said, I went through this and I had a double mastectomy. And she took my hand and she was holding my hand. And then she took my hand and she put it on her breast. And she said, feel my bodacious new breasts. And we just started laughing and laughing and laughing. And so she gave me hope. She gave me laughter for sure. And kindness that was just, it made me feel that I can do this. And so acts of kindness for me weren't so much things that people gave me, and I got a lot of wonderful notes but was more what people could give me emotionally when you need it. And she started my journey, giving me faith, giving me hope, giving me a big hug, letting me touch her fake breasts, which was very funny. So she gave me some humor. So that was the best gift people could give me.
Yes. So what would be a one-line message for the world?
Hard questions. For the world. Well, I had a couple favorite sayings, and I think one of mine, and they're not original, but I'll have to go with, and I have it also on a bracelet, is beautiful girl, you can do hard things. You can be strong when strong is your only choice. You can do it.
So what have you learned over the years that you think would lead you to a better future?
I've learned that sometimes the path you thought your life was going to take is not always the intended path. I've learned that cancer although is a devastating diagnosis, sometimes is a catalyst to putting you on another journey that maybe that's what you were intended for. I've learned that life is precious, that appreciate what you have, be grateful for what you have, and take risks, calculated risks and all, but you know, why wait? Why wait? Do what you love and love what you do.
Yes. So, what are the things that you appreciate or love about yourself?
That's a good question because I'm a terrible critic of myself right now. I think the biggest thing is I appreciate my body. I appreciate my soul and the strength within my body that I didn't know I had. And I don't mean the physical strength. I mean the internal strength of what my body went through. And it's a lot, but my body took me through it, allowed me to get through the journey, kept me, did what it was supposed to do. I appreciate that. Sometimes I want to give it a hug. In the beginning, I was angry at it, but now I'm grateful that it was the vessel that got me through the journey and that it was strong on the inside to get me over this. Yeah.
Hmm. So, how do you reward yourself when you achieve any goal?
Ask me again. I'm sorry.
How do you reward yourself when you achieve any goal?
How do I reward myself? I'm a pretty hard critic on myself, so I don't give myself a lot of rewards, and I probably should. But I'd like to do little things for myself. I might go buy some new shoes. I might allow myself a treat. But what I like to do probably most is to do things that are good for my body. So it might mean a nice long walk. It might mean a massage. It might mean, uh, you know, just sort of sleeping late. I don't know. It's for me, it's the little things, not so much the big things. How I reward myself. If I'm really, really rewarding myself, I might, you know, buy a milkshake or something crazy like that. But you know, I like to just treat it nice. Treat myself nice. Someone said to me, oh, I don't have my phone. I wrote it down, but self-care should not make you feel guilty. And that's a bad, she said it much better than I did, but it shouldn't make you feel guilty for stopping and taking care of yourself. And so I just find little ways to do that, to reward myself.
Yes. So, are you a working professional?
Am I working professionally?
Yeah.
Not anymore. I'm working to become a personal trainer. My background is marketing. I have done some consulting, but I am doing something I love right now. So I have been approached about working again, and I'm being very selective because I want, if I do go to work full time again, which I may or may not do, but for me now, it's about being in the right culture. It's about being in a place that feeds my soul, that gives me joy. That and if it doesn't check those boxes, then this is not how I want to spend my time. And so I was in corporate world for 25 years, and it wasn't all terrible. I loved what I did. But it was creating a lot of stress and anxiety. And so now I'm being selective, and I'm grateful that I have the ability to be selective. Not everyone can. So that's where I am, but um, open to opportunities, like I said, but selective on
Selective.
accepting those opportunities.
Yeah. So during the time you were going to the cancer journey, were you working at that time? Yes.
I
So,
worked the entire
yeah.
time.
Yeah. So how did you manage your personal and professional life at that time?
It was hard. I, at the time, was working from home. It was during COVID, so I was able to work from home, obviously. I had to really just manage myself. I was someone who would work, 9 to 10 hours a day and come home and be on my phone or on my laptop. And I definitely could not do that. So I started just having to manage myself. I had a boss who was very understanding and very supportive, and knew that, going through cancer treatment was hard. So I had to block times on my calendar because I knew Chemo Brain is real. Chemo Brain was probably one of the hardest side effects, because it was it and I still have some remnants of it, but trying to do complex work or sitting on Zoom calls for 2 hours, like I couldn't physically do that. So I just had to really manage my time. I had to prioritize. I had a block schedule. I mean, I knew in during my first round of treatment that my afternoons were terrible. So I would do all my work in the morning, because in the afternoons I would have to rest. So and it was, honestly, it was good. It was good to work. I can't imagine just sitting around if I wasn't working, because that's probably even worse. So kept my brain going, kept me engaged with people, kept me involved. So but it was tough. I mean, I have a lot of empathy for people that, would have to, in my circumstances, have to go to a job or have to work 9 or 10 hours a day, because it's very physically demanding on your body, and it's tough. So I did work, and but did take some time off too, because it really, it's a lot.
Mm. Yeah. So at zenonco.io, like we help towards the betterment of cancer patients through integrated oncology approach. So what are your thoughts on the same?
What are my thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I think it's amazing. I've gone through your website, and I think it is absolutely critical, because it's not just healing the body physically, but the mind, and and that's almost harder. And so taking an approach that helps you physically get through your treatment, and then other things that help, whether it's acupuncture, uh, therapy, meditation, all of those things are so important, so important. And to have a place that can offer kind of a menu of different things and treatments, um, you know, art therapy, creative therapies, things to keep your mind engaged, more holistic approaches. Absolutely. I think that's how all cancer treatment should be, to be honest.
Yeah, because
And
everyone focuses just on the medical treatment. But in India, if we think personally, a lot of things are be done in the form of medical treatment. But after medical treatment, many patients like they suffer from pain, nausea, so they have side effects. So after that, if we follow a holistic and integrative approach, then that will be also good for the patients, because that will help them in their faster recovery.
Absolutely, 100% agree. 100%. I didn't have all of that here, but I did have knowledge on those types of resources. But I would have definitely wished for if there was a single place that is part of talking through your treatment also brought up various other ways to help with side effects or help you mentally or nutritionally, like all at once. I think that's the best, most positive outcome of treatment. I 100% on board, completely agree. That's why I agreed to do this interview, because I think your approach is spot on. And if I happen to have lived in India during this, I would have definitely sought out a place like, and I'm sure in the United States there are those places, but where I personally live, there wasn't something as integrated and holistic as that. So I think it's amazing.
So if you have to sum up your journey in one sentence, then what would that be?
You and your one sentence in one word, my journey. I would have to say I'm much stronger than I realized.
Cancer made you much stronger. Yeah.
Much stronger.
Yeah. Your story is really inspiring. And I hope it really motivates and instills hope in patients who are going through this journey, and also for the survivors who have been through this journey. So thank you so much for your valuable time, Jennifer. And I hope this session really motivates people out there who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. So it was lovely having you today on this session with us. So once again, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. It was my pleasure.